Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. And yes guys, that's right, you read the title, you know what this is, what me and my dad, aka Lil Blue, what we're reviewing, and as was teased in the last review video. Yeah, because 1995 was definitely the big year for a triumphant return of one of the, most popular characters of agency, spy stuff, and yeah, especially because, a little bit of history, because in the late 80s, well, two films of this guy, where Timothy Dalton played the title character, didn't do that great, and after the second to last one, well, that's when the franchise kind of took a little break for a couple of years, but it wasn't until in 1995 when things would get back into shape, and yep, the franchise would be back up on its feet with its new lead man playing this guy, so 007. So that's right, guys, both me and my dad, and as both me and him, we are huge 007 fans, we are now finally reviewing, not to mention, this 007 film is celebrating its anniversary. Yes, from 1995, this is GoldenEye. Yeah, so, GoldenEye itself, the first of the four Bond films where Pierce Brosnan is 007 himself. Bond, James Bond.
James Bond. Yes.
So, why don't we start with you, because you had been watching you had been following the franchise for a long time, even before, in 1995, when this new era of James Bond began. This new series of movies where Pierce Brosnan would become the next 007. He would be the fifth actor to be 007. So, yeah. But yeah, take it away. You start.
Pierce Brosnan's Bond was very debonair, very daring, very bold, unafraid. Got in, did what he had to do.
Yep.
For Queen and Country, and I thought he was a good fit for the franchise. I thought he's one of my favorite Bonds. Aside from Daniel Craig, who is my favorite.
And we've had this talk where it seems like Pierce Brosnan is one of the top fan favorites.
Yeah.
Of the actors who have portrayed 007.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan had a quick wit. He had some great one-liners, great quips that you would never forget, and I think that's what made him a good James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
This movie in particular,
yeah. The first things we have to say about GoldenEye. So with you,
GoldenEye was a great film. It was the first of the
four
Pierce Brosnan films, and it certainly starts out with. It certainly gets your attention because it's you see Bond running to the center of a dam.
Okay, but let's not jump into the movie already, because the first things you have to say about it, and how many times have we done these reviews where you join me? Because the first things you have to say about it, like if you have any, obviously you have any recollection of the first time you saw this movie.
Yeah, I do, and I was taken by it. I mean, I was just totally blown away.
Yeah,
I thought it was very well done. And
it didn't take it that long to oh my gosh, Pierce Brosnan's fantastic as Bond.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any recollections? I don't think we ever talked about this. Do you have any recollection of when you heard the casting announcement for Pierce Brosnan as Bond in the 90s?
I was I was pleasantly surprised because Pierce Brosnan played in a TV series at the time.
Because you were familiar with Pierce Brosnan before.
I was,
yeah,
because of the TV series he played in, and his character was different from James Bond. But
well, I mean, obviously,
he was British, and so when they announced him as James Bond, I thought, oh, that's absolutely a perfect fit for that role, and turns out it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as for anything else you've got to say about GoldenEye, with first things you have to say, your first thoughts?
No, just that I was happy with the selection of Pierce Brosnan. I was very pleasantly surprised on the first outing of him as James Bond, playing the role of James Bond, and I thought he did a great job. He did a great job in all the movies, I thought.
Yeah. Well, and as for me, so you're finished on your part?
Sure.
Well, as for me, because, you know, I mean, honestly, I can't remember the very first time I had, had seen this. But I honestly believe that, yeah, Die Another Day, the fourth and last Bond film that Pierce Brosnan was in, that was one of my earliest and first Bond films I had seen of Pierce Brosnan. I think that was really the only one I had seen at the time, even around the time when, Daniel Craig stepped in as 007. I'm sure as though I saw those at some point at a younger age, but overall, of course, having seen GoldenEye a good chunk of times, even, each of us, we did a rewatch of this. You didn't have to, but you did anyways.
Yeah, I did.
But his point being is that having done a rewatch of this and the many other past times I have seen this movie and will continue to watch it whenever, I would have to say probably GoldenEye, probably for all of the Bond films, probably being my top favorite ones. Maybe top 5, but just, I mean, this was a great start for the new era of James Bond, where Pierce Brosnan stepped in and Martin Campbell being the director of this Bond film, and, which by the way, because coincidentally, 11 years later after doing GoldenEye and bringing back James Bond, he would do the same thing again, directing Casino Royale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously were aware that the same guy who directed GoldenEye, he would direct Casino Royale. Mm-hmm. And not to mention, he's directed the Zorro films.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you recall, but Martin Campbell also directed Green Lantern.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Remember that.
Yes, but anyways, point being on GoldenEye is that it was great with what was brought to GoldenEye, It's unfortunate that before this, the last 2 Bond films that Timothy Dalton was, people blaming Timothy Dalton, but he was not the problem. It was the storytelling, the writing and such. But thankfully, because again, when New Direction came in, and thus with GoldenEye, just everything that it has to offer from beginning to end, with a great storyline, great cast of talents, the debut of Pierce Brosnan as 007. The main antagonists, the 007/James Bond franchise never ceases to disappoint when it comes to very interesting, sinister villains.
Exactly.
And in the case of GoldenEye, some very interesting ones. Mm-hmm. Because we know that sometimes it's more than just, say, one villain in one James Bond film. But the action, the suspense, and the funny moments, the emotional moments, some surprise twists here and there, overall, it's definitely, I'd say it's up there being a fantastic Bond film. Mm-hmm. So, okay. Now with the first things each me and him had to say about GoldenEye, now, as always, read the description / the story / overview. You can take it from here, of course.
Okay. When a powerful satellite system falls into the hands of Alec Trevelyan, also known as Agent 006.
A.K.A. Agent 006.
Well, that's what A.K.A. stands for, is also known as.
Yeah, I know.
Agent 006, played by Sean Bean, a former ally turned enemy. Only James Bond, Pierce Brosnan, can save the world from an awesome space weapon that, in one short pulse, could destroy the Earth. As Bond squares off against his former compatriot, he also battles Trevelyan's stunning ally, Xenia Onatopp, played by Famke Janssen.
Johnson, yeah.
An assassin who uses pleasure as her ultimate weapon.
Okay, so you were talking. Okay, so now that reading the description / the story / overview is out of the way, we now dive in / break down the film itself. Now, as you were saying about the opening to the movie, after the gun barrel, of course, pretty cool music that plays with the gun barrel sequence, the opening sequence to the movie that starts it off, because you were talking about it, just continue. So
yeah, he was. You see Bond, and you assume it's Bond, running toward the center of this dam, and he has a bungee cord, attaches it to the dam, to the safety rail, and then he has the other end of it attached to him, of course, and stands up on the edge of the dam and jumps off. And when the bungee cord reaches its full elasticity, he fires a gun that has a piton in it it sticks into the concrete at the bottom of the dam, and it pulls him down to the bottom, and he lets himself off, and cuts a hole through the door, the trap door, to let him inside the facility, and in he goes.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because when they filmed that, the director, I read, was really nervous when the stunt double actually jumped off the dam with a bungee, and he said, "Oh, please let him remember to pull the gun out of his pack,
Yeah.
and point it."
That's what that's what Martin Campbell was concerned about?
That's what he was concerned about, because that was a very
so basically,
tricky stunt that they had to film it.
Forgot to, like, and because of the intents of the stunt and him falling, like, if he was able to reach out and pull out the gun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was because that was very important, because you see him when he jumps, and when you watch it, you can tell, shot from a distance, it's the stunt man. It's obviously not Pierce Brosnan.
Obviously.
Jumping off the top of this dam,
obviously,
diving off, and as he falls, he pulls this gun out of his pack, and it's kind of a two-part gun. It's a laser. It has a laser that he uses for cutting, but it also has a piton and a cable attached to it, where he fires it and it sticks into the concrete, and he holds the trigger, and it pulls him down so he can get off of the bungee.
Yeah.
And free himself, and then go inside the facility.
Mm-hmm. And I was about to say, because it's obvious that all the actors who have played James Bond, most of the time they've done their stunts.
Sure.
Yeah, but not all of them, of course. The intense ones.
No, not at all.
In the case of the bungee cord of the dam, so yeah.
Yeah.
But with what's going on in the opening of the film, because this base, that has to do with the Russians.
Yes, Soviet Union at the time.
Right.
When they were called the Soviet Union, before the Soviet Union basically crumbled, and now we're in a situation where pretty much the Soviet Union's back where it was.
Yeah.
Thanks to,
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so... but with what's going on with Bond, like, you could explain what he's specifically doing,
Well, he meets up with 006.
Yes.
Alex
006,
Trevelyan.
being played by, as was mentioned, Sean Bean.
Yes. And they meet up, and there's always passwords. There's always secret passwords that they have to give each other. And Sean Bean puts a gun in his face and says something in Russian.
Yeah.
Don't know what he says, but Bond looks at him and he says, "I'm alone." And Alex says, "Aren't we all?" And he says, "You're late, 007." And he says, "I had to stop off in the bathroom." Which, when you see that scene,
that's where we first see his face.
He comes into the bathroom.
I'm so sorry, I forgot to knock.
Comes through. No, he says he comes through the ceiling.
Yeah.
And there's a Russian soldier sitting on the toilet, doing his business, and he's got a newspaper, and he's got the newspaper up like this, and he's sitting there, and then all of a sudden he looks up, and there's 007 looking at him upside down, and he says, "Beg your pardon, forgot to knock."
Right.
And knocks him out.
Beg your pardon.
And then it goes from there. It's funny, very funny. So there's a lot of one-liners that Bond delivers that I think they're awesome.
Yeah, and great that the character of 007 himself having quite a bit of sense of humor.
Yes.
Yeah. But with 006 and 007 being present there because they're taking down something, at that base.
Yeah, they're there to destroy the base, basically, and they have explosives that have timers on them.
Yeah,
and they get into this facility, inside the facility, deeper into the facility, and they start to plant these bombs and put the timers on 6 minutes, and Alec ends up getting captured.
Yes,
by the Soviets, and
I believe he was there. He was there from the start. Yeah, Colonel Aronmov, if I said that right.
Colonel Oromov.
Yes,
Oromov,
played by Godfrey John.
Yeah, he was really good, and he
one of the villains of this movie.
Exactly, one of the main villains, and he, he has a gun pointed at Alec's head.
Yeah,
and Bond looks out, sees it. He's going to surrender to save Alec's life.
Yeah, but Alex, he's just willing to accept his fate.
Well, seemingly so.
Yeah. I mean,
And he tells
a good feeling that he's going to die, and just do it, James, blow them all to hell.
Yeah, and then he says, finally, what he says is, for England, James.
For England, James, yes.
And
boom, he gets shot.
The general shoots him in the head.
You think that's it for him, but
we'll
get to that when we get there.
It looks like he shoots him in the head.
And we'll get to that when we get there.
So Bond, he disappears back behind these gas tanks that they're going to blow.
No way they're going to shoot those gas tanks.
And he changes the code. He changes the timer from 6 minutes to 3 minutes, cuts it down to 3 minutes, and then he finds a way to escape.
Mm-hmm. Even when one of the soldiers, just deliberately shooting at them, but
he has a nervous trigger finger. And
and the colonel,
the general kills him.
Yeah, disobeying orders not to shoot at them.
Yeah, so he, Bond escapes and escapes out onto the runway of this facility where there's a plane, where planes can land and take off. Mm-hmm. And there's a plane getting ready to take off.
Yeah, and Bond managing to hijack that plane.
He chases it down. He struggles with the pilot.
Yeah.
He and the pilot both fall out.
Yeah, and the plane just taking off on itself on the runway, and he has to catch up with it on a bike.
On a motorcycle, which was a great stunt, because he goes off the edge of this runway.
Yep, so does the
sheer
plane.
drop off this cliff, and he free falls, catches the plane, gets inside, manages to get it under control.
Yep.
And
then the facility blowing up.
And he circles back around, and you see the facility blow up.
Yep.
So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool opening.
Yes. And the opening credits with the theme song, especially since you did a rewatch, how do you feel about the theme song to Gold? Tina Turner,
Tina Turner. She's a great vocalist, so she adds a touch of class to it, a huge touch of class to that song. It's a good song.
Yeah,
not one of my favorites, but it's a really good song.
I mean, I don't know. Personally, I don't know. I feel like it would kind of be up there in my top favorite songs of James Bond.
It's among the top, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah, for me personally, because I've talked about this with you before, because I would think for my top favorites Bond songs, it would maybe GoldenEye would be in there somewhere, but I especially would think of, say, Live and Let Die, Goldfinger, Writings on the Wall, Skyfall, and even the one that you really enjoy, the one from Casino Royale. So,
which is my favorite.
The one from Casino
by Chris Cornell.
The one from Casino Royale. It's in my top list somewhere. So.
Yeah, it's a really good song, and I also love Live and Let Die, and I love View to a Kill by Duran Duran. And, and there's others that have a more classic sound to them. Like. Goldfinger.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we get to see Bond interact with M, Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah. However, before that, because someone like M hired someone to do something to him when he was on the road.
Yeah, she hires a psychiatrist to observe him and evaluate him, and of course Bond woos her. And
was that Anna? Was that Anna, or what's her face, who was the psychiatrist? Wasn't that Anna, the character Anna?
Maybe. Give me a.
Well, that's what I'm trying, because as always, got IMDb pulled up. No, that wasn't Anna. No, because
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if they have her listed.
She does. Yeah, of course
I'm sure
they
would.
do.
Wait a minute.
No, that's not her, because I believe that's probably Caroline. I'm pretty sure, but.
Yeah, Carolyn.
Yeah.
But she's a psychiatrist, and of course she's just taken by Bond.
Just in case, pull it up on your phone or something, Carolyn. So, just in case, because But yeah, what say on that sequence? The psychiatrist and she's not quite comfortable. At first.
He's he's driving quite fast.
Yeah, he is. To him, he has no problem driving fast, even when it gets more intense when someone else is passing by and it becomes like a race on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, turns out, because one of the
Caroline is her name. Yeah,
that's her. Yeah, Carolyn being played by Serena Gordon.
Serena Gordon.
Serena Gordon. Yeah. Not that much of Caroline in GoldenEye, but she was still a pretty good character with how much we get of her.
She was. But it's pretty it's pretty intense scene where he's driving his Aston Martin and Xenia Onatopp comes up, and she's
played by Fennec Jensen,
driving a 328 Ferrari, which is a beautiful car.
And just through the curvy roads on like a mountaintop, and even when they are this close to colliding with bikers.
Yeah,
but obviously they're on the side of the road where the bikers are not on.
Yeah, so. The cyclists are there, and they've got their bikes, and they're parked on the side of there, and they come around a curve, and they've got both lanes taken up, and they finally she gets around.
Yeah, and even after they pass by, the bikers, the cyclists, whichever. They still tumble over.
Oh yeah, they're looking back, and one of them loses their balance, and they just go like dominoes. And they all fall, which is better.
It never ceases to
compared
fail.
to the alternative.
Yeah, it never ceases to fail. Where that can happen in reality, sometimes cyclists could, collapse like dominoes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and after all that chaos, and for poor Caroline, Bond's still managing to impress her, make a move on her.
Yeah,
and having a special bottle of. Champagne or something.
Yeah, he has a bottle of champagne.
Yeah, and a special cooler in his vehicle.
Yeah. Just typical Bond.
Exactly.
He's always prepared.
Exactly. And the casino sequence, right? That was the casino.
Yeah, the casino sequence is good because Bond is known to be a top-notch poker player.
Yeah, quite good at gambling and pokering and such.
And he beats Xenia Onatopp. Ultimately, beats her. His hand.
Onatopp. That's how her name's pronounced. Even Bond had to be sure. Onatopp. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he beats her, and she's basically ticked off that he beat her.
Yeah.
But she should enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Onatopp, about the character of Onatopp, who would turn out to be one of the other villains of the Bond film, what's say about her character?
She was very twisted.
Sexy but twisted.
Sexy but twisted, yeah. She was very twisted.
Just like what Batman says in Batman and Robin, why are all the gorgeous ones always the homicidal maniacs?
Yeah, she was she pretty much was a homicidal maniac.
Exactly. So Batman and Robin made that very clear on certain characters like her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, because wasn't this one of your earliest introductions to Fennec Jensen, or were you familiar with her before this?
I was not familiar with her.
Well, I mean, in case you had forgotten, because we're both Trekkies, she was in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation in season 5.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll mention. Yeah, I'll mention that I'll mention that later on, the episode that she was in. But
okay.
But of course, also we know her best. Of course, being in the X-Men films.
Yeah. And
predates X-Men. Not to mention another future X-Men cast member being in this. We'll get to him in a moment. But anything else to say? Because with Onatopp and what Bond does next at that location of the casino.
No, he just he basically.
They seem to hit it off pretty well at first.
Well, yeah, but they're kind of standoffish,
Yeah.
And she's with another guy. Who's
admiral. Making a move on an admiral.
Yeah, and he tells her, he says, I always loved a woman that could pull rank. Mm-hmm. And she did, basically.
Yeah, and Bond getting some information about Onatopp, and with M, and then Onatopp just making a move on the admiral, and this is where because liking things rough, literally, when having sex and such. Just finding a way to make her victims not able to breathe with her legs.
Yeah, she would typically wrap her legs around their midsection, and just squeeze with their her legs around their around the rib cage, so they couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
basically they would suffocate and die.
Yep,
which is a horrible death.
Yeah, it is.
And she tried that on Bond a couple times, but to no avail. Bond always prevails.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, but not for the Admiral, sadly.
No, sadly not.
Yeah, and there's this big thing happening, which is the next day. This jet,
No, it's a helicopter.
Helicopter, yeah.
And it has it's a stealth copter, but it also has it's also built to withstand electromagnetic pulse.
And there's the Admiral, Admiral Chuck Farrell, being played by Billy J. Mitchell. So,
Okay.
I believe it is the Admiral, so the bearded guy.
Yeah. So so they're there to see this for this ceremony to introduce this helicopter.
Yeah.
Which is a stealth helicopter, but again, it also has the ability to shield itself from electromagnetic pulses, which come typically from the detonation of a nuclear bomb, and it can basically wreak havoc on electrical, any electrical circuits or power stations, anything that has to do with electricity. It can completely wipe it out.
Right.
But that is also what GoldenEye is, right? GoldenEye is that it's not a bomb. It has a way to
It's
direct
something
its
very
pulses
different.
that is electromagnetic pulse.
Yes.
But this helicopter can withstand that. And on a top, and the
I believe,
Colonel
the Russian
Colonel
Colonel.
Oromov, which he ends up I think being promoted to general. But they both steal the helicopter, and their next stop is this little town, this little area in Russia, where there is a control station.
Yes.
For GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Colonel, as I recall, he's a traitor to the other Russians.
Oh, he's a traitor to his country.
Yeah.
Because he has sided with basically gangsters and the crime syndicate of Russia at the time. Because by this point, the Soviet Union is no longer it's been defunct, and what is left is just a capitalist Russia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that base that's in control of GoldenEye, because, I did mention her earlier. Anna is one of them, Anna being played by Michelle Arthur. But another one that's working at that base, who would, obviously be redeemed later on, Natalie Simonova.
Simonova,
being played by Isabella
Scorupco.
Thank you.
Scorupco.
So I don't know, just sometimes, us sometimes guys where, certain names are difficult to pronounce. In the case of certain names of Russian people. So,
yeah, because I think she was Russian. Definitely.
Well, obviously. And we now have to, of course, acknowledge another, as I mentioned earlier, because coincidentally, another future cast member of the X-Men films, along with Fennec Jensen, good old Alan Cumming as Boris.
Yes. Boris, I really liked his character, although he was a traitor too.
Yeah.
Boris Grushenko.
Grushenko, yes. And his famous line in the film, "I'm invincible."
Oh yeah.
He's definitely a computer geek.
Which turns out to be his famous last words, so to speak.
Until we get there, but as I said, he's definitely kind of like the ultimate computer geek.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because he's quite an expert on hacking in some certain things, like American property and so on.
Right.
So, anything else to say on the character of Boris?
No, it was a colorful character.
And he too being one of the other main villains.
Yeah, even though he was a bad guy, I enjoyed watching him. He was funny to watch.
Yeah, just any villain like Boris, they can be enjoyable to watch.
Oh, sure.
Because of their personality, the vibe and tone of them. So,
yeah. His abilities were within the cyber world.
Yeah.
Computers, and he was pretty much a computer genius.
As I just said, a total ultimate computer geek.
Exactly. But as far as being able to beat up beat up anybody, couldn't do it. He was just his weapon was his own brain.
Mm-hmm. And doing it on the computer. Yep. So that was his ultimate weapon.
Right.
But the Colonel and on a top, because they come back with the chopper, and because
they get there with the chopper, and their goal is to.
And when Boris went out to smoke a cigarette, that's when they came out. So
they landed, and you're thinking, oh, Boris is going to get it, but you don't realize Boris is in with them.
Yes.
So what ends up happening is they come into the facility. The Colonel, who is head of space research with Russia, he uses his power and his influence to get in there, and they take the GoldenEye. They take possession of the GoldenEye, and they kill everybody there.
Yeah, Onatop does all the killing.
Onatop does all the
The
killing.
Colonel does kill some of them, but man, Onatop literally just
She wipes them out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he's...
But luckily, Natalia, she survived all this.
She did. She managed to basically set a decoy for herself. So
She went to get coffee, but then
Right.
she managed to hide in the air ducts.
Well, no, she didn't hide in the air ducts. She made it look like she hid in the air ducts.
That's right. Yeah, she made
And
it look like she hid in the air ducts, but she actually hid in one of the cabinets.
In one of the kitchen cabinets, exactly.
Yeah.
So
as if that didn't occur to the two of them, that maybe that's where she'd be hiding.
they set the GoldenEye to target the facility that they're in. And
Yep, and that's what happens.
to destroy it. And so they could have ultimate control of GoldenEye.
And luckily for Natalia, she still managed to survive all that.
She did.
It's unfortunate for her having to witness all of her fellow co-workers just to see their lifeless bodies. Mm-hmm. Especially one that was a close friend of hers, Anna. So
Yeah, who was killed. Mm-hmm. And, it was just very sad.
And then all of this is reported back at headquarters.
Yes.
Yes, and where we finally see M, Judi Dench herself, Dame Judi Dench. And yeah, because this was the first time that Judi Dench would betray M. And it was great to see that she would come back in the next era of James Bond with Daniel Craig.
Absolutely.
Reprising the role as M.
Yes.
Yeah. But what was your first impression of Judi Dench as M in this?
Loved her. Absolutely.
How can you not love someone like Judi Dench?
I had seen her act in other things, including
obviously before this,
British television,
Right.
British comedies on the BBC. So I was very familiar with her work.
Uh-huh.
And when I found out she was playing M, I just oh my God, it's perfect, absolutely perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, with what goes on in headquarters, you want to still take it from here with what they find out and with that base being blown up?
Well, they find out that GoldenEye does indeed exist, because up to that point it had just been, they thought was a myth that the Russians or the ex-Soviets still had possession of a weapon that could fire an electromagnetic pulse into a specific area, knock out their power grid completely, and render them helpless. That would make them susceptible to invasion, basically. So it was a Cold War weapon that the Soviets had developed, and it was basically abandoned, but it was still being carefully guarded.
Absolutely.
And so the Colonel Armoff and Onatop, they steal it. Mm-hmm. They steal it, and
well, Boris technically as well. So
when M realizes this, after they have the intel, she sends Bond to retrieve GoldenEye, which is not an easy task.
Yeah, especially, however, because with M knowing the pressure that Bond is in, and because Bond shouldn't do this mission because of vengeance on account of the dearly missed 006.
Well, you see their...
At least that's what they think.
You see the dynamics and the interaction of the two characters, M and James Bond, together for the first time, because she basically tells him, she says, you think I'm a bean counter, you think I'm an accountant who would not, who basically doesn't know what she's doing, and she tells him, she says, I see you as a Cold War relic whose boyish charms are wasted on me, but then she mentions, obviously not on the psychiatrist I sent to evaluate you, and Bond says,
evaluate.
Point taken. But they kind of go back and forth, and they kind of have a little verbal jousting there briefly. But she tells him, she says, I have no compunction to send you to your death, if that's what it takes. But ultimately,
even when she says, come back alive.
Ultimately, when she sends him on his mission, she stops him as he's walking out the door, and she says, come back alive.
Yeah, as I just said.
Which means, she is compassionate. She's not without feeling. And, Bond knows this, but he also knows she's no nonsense. He's not going to pull any punches with her.
Despite them acting in the line of duty and business, they seem to have a good friendship.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. And so Bond's destination to Russia, right?
Yes, initially.
Yeah, eventually, but
where he meets up with Jack
Jack Wade,
CIA agent Jack Wade,
being played by the late Joe Don Baker.
He was so good in that role.
However, before he meets with Jack, we of course have to acknowledge the gadgetries that Bond gets for this mission.
Oh, he meets with Q,
Lended
which
by
is
Q, of course.
One of my favorite scenes with Q.
Played by the late original Q himself, Desmond Llewellyn.
Yes.
Yes.
So sad that he ended up dying in a car crash.
Yeah.
Because I think his life, even though he was an elderly
he was getting up there.
He was still quite capable of acting.
And it shows in the last 3 Bond films he was in, and even when he said that he was planning on being in Die Another Day.
But I think that the replacement they found, which of course was
the Daniel Craig ones,
the great John Cleese.
John Cleese, like he would first be R, then I presume because I recall in Die Another Day the original Q he retired, and R would then become the new Q.
Yes,
I presume that's how, as I recall that's how it goes.
Yeah. And so Q, gives Bond his new gadgets, one of which is an exploding ink pen that
click it 3 times.
Click it 3 times, it activates it. And it has a 4-second fuse. And to deactivate it, you click it 3 more times to deactivate it.
Yes.
And it's quite.
That's
funny.
the biggest gadget. That's the biggest one he shows. But there's a couple of others that he shows.
Well, the interesting thing is, of all the Bond movies I've seen, this BMW that he takes possession of, that's his vehicle that has the Stinger missiles behind the headlights and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to my knowledge, that's the only car Bond ever brought back in one piece.
Really?
Seriously, because
I seem to forget. Not even the famous car he always uses. The gray silver one.
Well, that's the Aston Martin.
Yeah, the Aston Martin. I mean, the Aston Martin always seems to. It's always been used, and no matter what Bond film, for many of the series of Bond films.
Exactly. So when he meets CIA agent Jack Wade takes the car, the BMW that Bond was driving in. And you don't see it anymore. So you have to assume that he does bring it back in one piece.
Mm-hmm. Also, there was a moment where Bond insisted on Jack showing a tattoo of his,
Yeah, Muffy.
Muffy, yes.
It was his third ex-wife.
Yes, third ex-wife, yeah.
And he had Muffy tattooed with a rose tattooed on his hip and almost on his butt, but it was right at the top of his butt, right around his hip.
Yeah, his hip.
And so he has to pull his pants down and show Bond this tattoo.
Kind of in public, but...
Yeah, and Bond is so funny because he's got this proper British accent, right? And he says, he looks at it and he looks at Joe Don Baker's character and he goes,
Jack.
He says, Muffy? He doesn't even pronounce it Muffy. He pronounces it Muffy,
Muffy,
with that heavy British accent, which was really funny.
Yeah,
and he
Muffy,
said, third ex-wife, and then he says that's when he introduces himself.
He didn't say ex; he just said
Jack
third
Wade.
wife.
Yeah, Jack Wade, CIA.
Yeah. Anything else to say on the character of Jack Wade? Because
I
again,
loved him. I loved him. He was,
and being one of the very few American characters in.
He was in every.
Obviously, there have been other Bond films where we would have a couple of American characters.
Exactly,
so,
but the CIA agent was typically his name was Felix.
Felix.
So this was a different take on that. This was Jack Wade. They kind of changed it up a little bit, which I liked.
As long as it's done in a good way,
exactly.
and if it makes sense, it's got to make sense.
And it made total sense for Joe Don Baker to play that role,
and with what he specifically brought to this new version of. Not being named Felix, but instead Jack Wade.
Exactly.
Because so overall, because Jack Wade is basically the Felix-like character.
He is, and he's also high up with the CIA. He's connected, but he just kind of downplays it. He plays it kind of loose. He's not a prim and proper agent like 007 is.
Yeah,
which I like. They're kind of opposites, but they get along.
Yeah. They also at headquarters, I keep forgetting, the name of the headquarters that Bond works at?
Well, it's MI6.
Yeah, MI6, thank you, because MI6 did detect something from the destroyed base where, one survivor, which being Natalia.
live satellite, they showed you could see a heat signature of a body of a person climbing out of that destroyed base. So
and yeah, Bond obviously does have to reach to her. So
he eventually does make connections with her. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what next? Like, I presume, do we want to get to Robbie Coltrane's character next?
Robbie Coltrane.
You know, because Valentine.
Oh, Valentine.
Do we want to go and talk about him next?
He was
Valentine Sokovsky, being played by who would become Rubeus Hagrid, Robbie Coltrane.
Well, the
original Rubeus Hagrid, I should say.
Right. Valentine Sokovsky is a very colorful. I would call him an anti-hero. He's kind of an ally of Bond's, but not.
And the feeling and a mixed like friendship between him and Bond, like I guess somewhat frenemies, I guess.
Yeah, frenemies. I would probably say that. They have a mutual respect for each other.
I was about to say, like, the feelings between them are mutual, so
right.
They seem to sometimes get along. But
Robbie Coltrane's character, he played that so well, and he sets him up. He sets Bond up with a person named Giannis, and Giannis, when he does meet Giannis,
yeah. But very quickly before we get to Giannis, because Valentine is like running a bar or something, right? A club, like a.
Oh, he did. He's got his fingers in all kinds of pies.
Because we see one of the showgirls,
Minnie Driver,
Irina, being played by Minnie Driver, and we don't get that much of Minnie Driver in this, just for that one sequence, and
unfortunately,
hit the road, Irina.
Yeah,
so
she does that.
Yes. I remember.
Which I thought was hilarious. But when Bond does meet Giannis, we do find out
it's like at this like graveyard or something.
It's like with all these statues. It's really weird.
These ruins of statues and that kind of stuff. So
and when he finally comes out, when Giannis finally comes out, codename Giannis.
Yes,
we see that it is Alec Trevelyan, and he
survived all that.
He survived everything
from the gunshot to the face to that base.
He was never even. It was a blank.
You have to assume. You see, I was thinking about it because it had to be a blank.
It was a blank, because he would never have survived that if it was an actual bullet. It would have killed him.
No, he would have not survived that. And technically, because he's somewhat working alongside with the Russian traitor,
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and here's another thing, because Alec doesn't become, pardon my French, but it's true, Alec doesn't become a villain for the hell of it. It's just, he's really doing this because, to him, just feeling betrayed that Bond left him and such.
Yeah, exactly.
But how was Bond and those at MI6, how are they supposed to know that he survived? Because they didn't. It seemed to them. It seemed impossible.
They thought he was dead.
Yeah,
he played dead for all that time, and eventually grew in power in Russia,
and becoming a rogue member of MI6.
Well,
a rogue or renegade.
He wasn't a member of MI6 at that point. He was.
But he was referred to as 006 anyway.
Right, but he was still a former member of MI6.
Yeah, and when no, go ahead.
But it was his family that had the connections that if MI6 had really looked more closely, they would have seen that he was not the right fit to be a 00 agent, because he was his family had connections through Russia.
Yeah,
and they were betrayed by the British government. So he had an axe to grind with the British government, and he played it cool all those years.
Even when he did say he himself said for England, but not really.
Didn't mean it. No.
No, he did not.
It wasn't for England at all.
No, not at all.
Russia.
Exactly.
If anything, it was any way he could bring down England.
Yep.
So.
And in connection with teaming up with the three other main villains,
exactly.
And linked with GoldenEye.
Yep.
But yeah, and when we see him again, Alec. Is it Alex or Alec?
Alec. It's Alec.
Yeah, Alec. I feel like because we were a couple of times saying Alex, but I don't know. But
no, it's Alec.
Point being is that when we see Alec again, and we would see him again up to 1 hour in this movie, and when we see him again, like part of his face, and I think a part of his eye, because it's messed up. A lot of like
his face is messed up because he's scarred from the blast.
Yeah,
and he blames Bond for that because Bond set the timers from 6 minutes down to 3 minutes. Alec thought he had plenty of time but he thought they had 6 minutes, but he didn't realize that Bond had set the timers back 3 minutes, and
Yep.
that's a serious issue with Alec.
Uh-huh.
So
Now, that being the twist where we see Alec, he survived. I mean, do you remember the very first time how you reacted to that? The surprising reveal that Alec is alive?
I was like, oh wow, he's still alive. I think that's pretty much how everybody reacted to it.
Obviously, the very first time they watch
Wow,
it.
he's still alive. How did he survive that? And then you start thinking, oh, okay, guy shot him in the head, but
With a blank.
They used a blank.
Obviously.
He survived the explosion, obviously.
He managed to duck and cover somewhere of that huge explosion somehow.
Exactly.
But the interactions between Alec and Bond, Bond just he keeps it together, I'd say, because, with how his reaction to seeing his old friend having survived,
Sure.
and then Alec would, shoot a dart or something at him, because knocking him out conscious.
Yeah, Bond was getting ready to shoot him.
Yeah.
And the second he's getting ready to shoot him, he fires a dart and it lands in his neck, and it knocks him out instantly.
Then he would find himself awake in the chopper,
He's in the chopper.
where Natalia is also in there too.
Exactly.
Wake up!
She's screaming at him to wake up, and he finally comes around.
I'm here. I'm here.
And he gets it. He ends up activating the chopper, turning the engines on.
Mm-hmm.
But finally, when he realizes that they have it set on automatic to fire missiles and guided missiles that turn around and come right back and target the helicopter, which is an attempt to kill Bond and this Natalie.
Uh-huh.
Or Natalia.
Natalia.
Natalia Simonova.
Yeah, Natalia.
And so Bond figures out how to use the ejection to eject them from this helicopter.
Yep.
And it ends up, it's like a rockets blast them into the sky, and and parachutes deploy, and you think, oh, okay, great, they made it. And then when they come down and land, here come the Russians again. And
and then being taken in hostage.
They're taken hostage, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And because, Natalia, not being familiar with Bond, didn't get the chance to introduce himself until a couple of Russians, they come in to question them.
Exactly.
And when, basically, Bond informs them about the Colonel, who would be a traitor.
And who, he shows his hand at that point. Kills the Ministry of Defense, who's trying to interrogate Bond. And
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Nicola. What is her name?
Once again, because having to find the names on IMDb, so...
Natalia. Sorry, Natalia.
I was about to say Nicola, because,
Natalia tells the defense minister that he is the Russian defense minister that...
yeah, because she witnessed all this that happened, so...
Yes, that the colonel is a traitor, and she witnessed him kill all these people.
Along with Onatop.
Colonel Aramov and Onatop.
Yep.
And that's what happens.
Yeah, but with the colonel himself stepping in and having to kill them, the Russians.
Kills the Russian defense minister and kills 2 Russian guards that are in there with him. And Bond manages to break free with Natalia.
Yep.
And it takes her into his protective custody, and they go.
Yeah. I just love that in GoldenEye. I just want to say I just love the bullet sound effects in the film.
Very cool.
The hit and miss sounds.
Oh yeah, it was very cool.
Oh yeah,
very cool.
And because of that whole sequence, and when even at one point Natalia getting captured once again.
Yes.
And then it would lead to at one point where Bond hijacks a tank. Yes.
And wreaks havoc in this city, in this Russian city, and it's hilarious, really.
Even a couple of statues,
Oh yeah,
they get broken and they're on top of the tank.
And the funny thing is, this is the time when this is how typical Bond. When he's in a suit, he comes out of it just about anything, and he's just like. Wipes the dust off
and says something casual, just like a funny line.
Yeah, and it's really funny, but he ends up having a standoff with this train that Alec is on, and
what say about the train? Because the train was pretty cool.
Well, the train was cool, but the train they used they said it was used back during the Soviet era, and the top officers and officials from the Politburo, they would ride in this train, but it made it difficult for them to be tracked by satellite.
Yeah.
So they would be in this train, and they'd just go all over the place.
And this is where the colonel and on the top they meet with Alec in the train.
Exactly. And of course, Bond mixes it up with him, and he ends up freeing Natalia.
Yes. Even he told the colonel that Alec would betray them in the end.
He does warn him, and of course, the colonel is killed.
Yeah.
By Alec.
So that's one of the first of the 4 villains to be killed, which being the colonel.
Exactly.
Yep. And even even before that, Bond had placed the tank on the train tracks at a tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was. It was kind of a standoff with the train. It was like they were playing chicken. Bond pulled the tank up. He pulled it. He drove it out of the. He was hiding in the tunnel, and drove it out of the tunnel. And they see the train, and it's funny because on the top she gets excited. She's like, "He's going to derail us," and she's excited about it. It's like she's looking forward to it, and ends up knocking her out and everything.
Yeah.
But of course, the train does crash when it runs into the tank, and what ends up happening is Natalia and 007 are left captive on this train when everybody else vacates it, escapes from it.
Yep.
And Alec tells him, he says, I gave you the same courtesy you gave me with the timers on the detonation.
Mm-hmm.
And Natalia says, well, what does that mean? He says, and Bond says, it means he set it to 3 minutes. He says, we've got 3 minutes. Because Bond knew exactly what he meant when he said that, because Bond had originally set them for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
That was the agreed upon time for the detonation.
Mm-hmm.
And when Alec was supposedly shot and killed,
yeah,
that's when Bond moved him back to 3 minutes.
Yep.
Where they only had 3 minutes and not 6. So that's how he knew what Alec meant when he said, I extended the same courtesy to you, with the timers on the bombs to detonate. And so what does that mean? And he says, and Bond says, it means we've got 3 minutes. So they barely got out in the nick of time, and but they did. They get out.
And it doesn't take them too long. A little later, where they spend some time together, and they do hit it off.
Oh, of course they do.
Bond always managing.
Of course,
always
gets the girl. Always, and
definitely being the top ladies man.
They end up going to Cuba, where this secret facility is with this hidden transmitter.
Yeah. However, they are technically kind of taking a break, and spending a little time together.
Yeah, but before they get to the next phase of their assignment.
Yeah, and when Jack shows up.
Jack shows up in a plane.
Yep.
And they take the plane, and Jack Wade takes the BMW, which is why obviously I believe that the BMW was nothing ever happened to it. It actually was returned back to MI6.
Yeah.
In probably close pristine order. Probably the only car that Bond ever turned back into MI6, because they all ended up destroyed, or demolished. So
yeah.
So Joe Don Baker's character ends up taking the car. Bond and Natalia, they take the plane, and they fly it to these coordinates that they were given by the CIA.
Yes.
And once they get there, there's just this big giant lake. But there's nothing. There's no satellite dish. There's nothing. And there's so Bond decides to make a second pass. When he does, that's when a Stinger missile comes out of the water and hits him and knocks him out of the sky. And they end up crash landing, and they're unconscious.
Yeah.
And
especially to Bond, because Natalia, to him, it seems like Natalia died.
Well, this is when the helicopter shows up, and Bond, he wakes up. He's been unconscious. He wakes up, sees this helicopter, thinks it might be a rescue.
Yeah.
And he gets up, and he sees
nope.
this rope come down, and sees this body come down, and it just hits him and knocks him back to the ground.
It's on a top.
And it's on a top.
Yep.
And of course, he's fighting
once again on a top, trying to make him not breathe.
At this point, Natalia wakes up.
Yes.
While Bond and her are struggling, and
tries to take on a top, but doesn't stand a chance towards on a top.
She grabs Natalia and says, "Wait your turn," and then hits her and knocks her out again.
And this gives Bond the perfect opportunity to put a grappling hook and such.
He attaches a hook to
her belt and screaming and then being
fires some shots at the helicopter. The helicopter has to veer off.
Yep.
Which, when it does, it yanks her
and she hits a couple trees.
She's pulled in between a couple trees and she's
suffocating.
She's crushed to death.
Yeah.
And that's Bond's.
And Bond's saying a funny line,
one of the funniest lines in that movie is when he says, "She always did like a good squeeze." And I thought that was a great line.
Yeah. And speaking of which, because to talk more about on top, because say when early in the film, because her attempts to try to kill Bond, but manage it in this spa building or something,
Yes.
Yeah. But in fact, because Onatopp was responsible for leading him to where he would then reunite with Alec. But I was also going to say this because I've seen this where around the time when the movie came out, Famke Janssen, she was on Conan O'Brien, and she technically demonstrated, with what her character does on Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you were aware of that,
yeah,
okay. So, but so that's villain number 2 being defeated. So then what?
Well,
okay, 2 villains down, 2 more to go.
They, Natalia and Bond, they're trying to get into this facility, and they see where this giant satellite dish has emerged from under this lake.
Yes.
And they both say, no wonder we couldn't see it.
It was well hidden.
It was well hidden underwater.
It was out of their radar, their sensors.
But this thing emerges from the water. They find a way in, and of course they're caught almost immediately.
Yeah.
And that's when Alec. That's when this is what was so funny is that Alan Cummings' character,
Boris. It's Cumming, not Cummings.
Cumming, yeah. Boris.
Yep.
He gets a hold of Bond's when they take Bond and Bond captive because she is still in the background. She did not get captured, but Bond did. So
yeah. In fact, Natalia, very early on, before Bond and Natalia crossed paths, Natalia discovered that Boris was alive.
Exactly.
But only to discover that, Boris was a traitor and working alongside the bad guys.
So Bond, he somehow, Boris gets hold of Bond's explosive pen.
And unbeknownst to him, he has no idea.
And he's sitting there and he's typing on the computer and he keeps clicking it, and Bond is getting noticeably nervous.
Yeah, and somewhat in his way, he's nervous.
Right.
He's nervous in his very own way.
And they finally catch Natalia.
Yeah, Natalia did something on the computers,
But she did. She set it up to where Boris couldn't break into it. She locked it up.
Right.
And so
Give
Boris
me the codes!
Boris is
he's getting impatient, and so is Alec. Even Alec is threatening to kill. Well, in fact, at times, from each Natalia and Bond being threatened to be killed, and each of them saying, go ahead, means nothing, that he or she means nothing to me. So
Boris, yeah, exactly. So Boris.
Obviously, that's not the case. Just playing along and to convince the bad guys,
Bond is keeping track of how many clicks he's clicking this.
Yeah. As Q specifically said, 3 clicks
to activate it, 3 clicks to deactivate it.
Right.
So Bond loses track, and he realizes, hey, this thing is live.
Man.
So he manages to knock it out of his hand.
That's bad that he lost track.
He manages to knock it out of Boris's hand. It goes flying. It hits all these gas tanks.
Quickly flick it out of his hand. Quickly grab Natalia, run out of it, and then boom! Everything explodes.
It explodes, and he and Natalie escape. In the midst of all the chaos.
At least Alec and Boris, they managed to survive all that explosion. So
yeah.
But some of the other people, they were caught on fire and so on. But yeah, most of that base being destroyed.
So Alec goes after Bond.
Yep.
And
GoldenEye is soon to be activated and cause mayhem on England.
And the whole idea is to what they want to do is they want to transfer all this money out of the Bank of England.
Yeah, the part of the money,
billions of dollars, and then after they activate GoldenEye, it'll wipe all the records clean.
Exactly.
So there'll be no way to trace them. And pretty diabolical. But as Bond says, it's still petty theft. They're trying to act like they're all that in a bag of chips, but again, as Bond says, it's petty theft.
Yes, it is.
So Alec chases after Bond, and Bond is out. He wants to sabotage. His goal is to sabotage the antenna, which he does effectively. But Alec is after him, and they end up really getting into it. And fisticuffs. Gun gets knocked away and all that.
Yep.
And I had a hard time when I saw this at the theater because I have kind of a vertigo thing with heights.
Oh yeah.
And when Alec is
Alec
and
do.
Bond are
right?
hanging off that, and it's probably 200 feet up in the air. And
Well, I mean, the camera shots, the shots of that sequence, it changes. So
it does. But anyway, what ends up happening is Bond gets the upper hand, and Alec looks at Alec's hanging there.
Bond
is holding him by his legs,
by his ankles,
and he says, and Alec says, "For England, James."
No,
and Bond says, "No, for me," and he lets him go.
Yeah,
and he falls, and he survives the fall, which is surprising. Which he wouldn't have lived because we would have had massive internal injuries.
I don't know, because the height of how
he would have, every bone in his body would have been broken.
Obviously, but just the height of it, and when he was dropped, like he technically could still survive, right? I mean, even in reality, because
in reality, no, he would not have survived. He would have.
But this is a movie. This is fiction. So
of course, but he would. I mean, he could potentially could he survive that fall and still be alive? Briefly, yes, but not. He could not survive it and live a normal life.
And right after he hits the floor, then we cut to Boris just screaming, because with GoldenEye being activated,
and GoldenEye blows up on re-entry, and then the next thing you see is the antenna, and this happens just as Natalia, she holds a gun to this helicopter pilot's head, who's coming in to try to rescue Alec, and the helicopter pilot ends up rescuing Bond.
Well, I mean, obviously, wouldn't Natalia would also say Bond? I mean,
well, of course she would, but the only reason the helicopter pilot allowed Bond to get on board was because he had a gun to his head.
Exactly. Because
she held a gun to his head.
Yep.
So, just as Bond gets on board, massive explosion.
Then there was nothing.
There
was nothing much left for the helicopter pilot to do, since all of it was taken down, and so was the villains.
Well, the antenna was destroyed, and then of course the next thing you see is this giant antenna falls and lands right on top of Alec. So, if he wasn't going to die before, he was certainly going to die then.
Yeah, that finishes him off with the explosion.
Finishes him off, absolutely. And the next thing you see the helicopter drops Bond and Natalia off in the middle of the
yes. But Boris's defeat.
Yeah, Boris's defeat. And he stands up after this explosion. He survives the explosion.
Yeah, he does.
He stands up. I'm invincible! And then liquid nitrogen tank explodes, and basically just...
you were saying you're invincible?
Wave of liquid nitrogen just engulfs him. And
freezes up his body, right?
Well, it kills him instantly. He's killed instantly. But he's frozen because if somebody had come up and just gone like that, they could have just broken his arm off.
Or if they just made him tip over, he would
have fallen over and shattered into a million pieces. Right?
Oh God!
So that was interesting. But Bond,
that's just a funny moment because just again when he says "I'm invincible," and then when that happens, you were saying,
exactly.
So it's one of those
famous
things.
Last words.
Yep.
So Bond and Natalia, they're dropped off by the helicopter pilot in the middle of this field in Cuba.
It's fun. And here's another thing about Boris. Out of all those other villains that were killed, it's amazing to see that he was the last one to survive, but of course still be defeated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Natalia and Bond are dropped off in this field, and
then Jack, Wade, and the others.
Jack Wade, he shows up, and he's like, is this coming through in a pinch? And he says, hey, I said I'd be here, didn't I? And he goes, yo, Marines! And all of a sudden you see all these U.S. Marines come up. They've been
camouflaged.
They're in hiding. These two helicopters come down.
Yep.
And, Bond is saying, come on, and she says, I'm not getting on a helicopter. And he just looks at her, and he's holding her. And he says, darling. He says, what could possibly go wrong? You know.
Yeah,
and
this time.
he gets her on the helicopter, and Jack Wade says, "Would you two like to debrief each other at Guantanamo?" Which Guantanamo is the U.S. base in Cuba.
Right.
So, it was funny. It was and it was a great movie. And
Yeah,
that's how it ended.
Yeah. By the way, we can't to mention a few other characters. We didn't talk about her. I don't know why we didn't bring her up. Moneypenny, because we didn't bring up about Moneypenny.
I thought
even though there's not that much about there's not that much of Moneypenny in this movie, we still have to acknowledge her because she's one of the other big, characters of MI6.
Samantha Bond. I thought she was drop dead gorgeous. Of any of the Bond girls, she was the prettiest to me. I'm sorry.
The prettiest of the money bunny?
The prettiest of any of the Bond leading ladies that ever played in a Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie. I was in love with Moneypenny. I thought she was gorgeous. Samantha Bond.
This one specifically,
Samantha Bond.
This variation of Moneypenny.
That's what I said.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I thought she was absolutely drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah, but she was no disappointment for in this Bond film, and her debut as Moneypenny.
Oh no.
Yeah, especially since throughout the Bond films, like Moneypenny always having a thing for Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Golly, especially with what happens at the end of Die Another Day.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Of course.
But yeah, so, and because I seem to forget, because Moneypenny and Bond, they kind of had a relationship before or not?
They have kind of a playful, flirtatious relationship. Not a physical relationship.
Yeah.
But it's a flirt. They flirt with each other, and they
and if it's a possibility that they could hook up. So.
Yeah. I always hoped it for Bond, because I always thought, man, she's one you need to hook up with.
Exactly, because because she'd be the lucky one to have.
She was beautiful.
Exactly, but with all the other ladies he hooks up with still, but definitely because he's missing out on a shot with Moneypenny.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, just the interactions that we see of Moneypenny and Bond in this is great, and when we would see Moneypenny some more in the next three Bond films of Pierce Brosnan. So. I mean, I got it, because, okay, so again, out of all the Moneypennies, like, this one you enjoyed the best. This is your preferred one.
With Pierce Brosnan?
Yeah, Samantha Bond is Moneypenny.
Samantha Bond.
Yes, that one.
Yeah,
that one.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
My favorite Bond film of the Pierce Brosnan incarnation is Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yes.
That's my favorite.
Which that is the second one after this.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I didn't want to leave Moneypenny out, and anything else on the other characters? You think we're good on that?
I think we're good.
Okay.
I think we covered it well.
We did, yeah. So our final thoughts and words to say on GoldenEye, which, by the way, I meant to bring this up. This GoldenEye is the 17th installment of the Bond franchise of movies and such.
Yep.
But point being is that, about GoldenEye, again, our final thoughts and words, etc. Well, why don't we start with you? Like, what are your final thoughts and results and such of GoldenEye?
Well, GoldenEye was a great revival for James Bond.
Yes.
I thought it was a fantastic revival for the James Bond franchise.
Despite the last two with Timothy Dalton, this is when it came to GoldenEye, things would get back into shape for the franchise.
Exactly. And it was, and I thought, all due respect, I thought Timothy Dalton did a great job as Bond.
Yeah.
It was just that I don't know what happened. I'm not really sure what happened.
It's not his fault. Okay?
It wasn't his fault
because he was a good Bond.
He was an extraordinary actor. He was a very good Bond. He was much more action oriented than previous Bonds.
Yes.
But I'm not really sure. But I do know that when they made the change, and there was kind of a down period where there wasn't really any Bond movies.
For a couple of years.
All of a sudden, Pierce Brosnan, here he comes, and he's the new James Bond. It's like, oh, whoa, yeah, he's because they had been looking at him for a long time. He was just, the series he was doing on TV would not allow him to do it.
Yeah, but obviously when that series came to an end, that's when the opportunity came.
Exactly.
The time finally came.
And he grabbed it and ran with it. He was very good. So this, GoldenEye was the first outing with Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. I thought it was an excellent movie, and the movie after that was even better than GoldenEye, I thought.
But no hard feelings on GoldenEye, of course.
Oh, no. GoldenEye was great in its own right.
Yes.
It was an excellent movie.
Absolutely.
I'm just talking about personal preferences, but this was definitely, out of the gate, this was a top-notch Bond film.
Indeed. So you're finished on your part, final thoughts and words?
Yeah.
So, okay, as for me, because, I couldn't have said it better than what you said, because, just like, it was great that when the franchise came back in a fresh and brand new way, now Pierce Brosnan being the main titled character, the new leading man, 007, etc. Yeah, it's amazing that how this new era of James Bond began with this, and with what GoldenEye had to offer with its storyline. It's the first time we see Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, already a fantastic 007, great characters, and new faces that would step in from, say, Moneypenny to M. Also, with the return of Q, and as well as the new villains and the villains that we get in GoldenEye. They were very interesting and colorful, and of course, the ladies that Bond gets in the movie, especially Natalia, and the whole thing of GoldenEye is interesting. The suspense, the action, the climax, the funny, the emotional moments, the surprising twists and such. And because in the case of Alec, the original 006, and just everything that this Bond film had to offer. Martin Campbell's direction, the music and score, and with Tina Turner singing the song, just everything about GoldenEye. It was a great Bond film. It is, and like I said, probably it would be my top favorite of the Bond films. And it's hard to choose, like, which would be my all-time favorite of the Bond films with Pierce Brosnan. Mm-hmm. Because, all four of them are good. Yeah. Because how people feel about Die Another Day, because, I forget, how do you feel about Die Another Day? Because Die Another Day and The World Is Not Enough.
Which was the last Bond film?
Die Another Day. Okay, that was Pierce Brosnan's last Bond film.
That was my least favorite.
Okay.
It was my least favorite. I liked it, but it was my least favorite.
And where Halle Berry was in it.
Halle Berry was in it?
Yes.
I know Halle Berry was in the next one.
Yeah, she was in Die Another Day, yeah.
Oh, okay, Die Another Day.
Yes.
Yeah,
and where John Cleese would become the new Q.
That's okay. Yeah, that one I liked, because that's the one where he goes out to this ice palace.
Uh-huh.
And Halle Berry is in it, and that was a good one. I did like that one. I was thinking of the last one, which was I think Tomorrow Is Not Enough, or
Tomorrow, like The World.
The World Is Not Enough. Yeah, that's the last one.
That's the second to last one. Die Another Day is the last one.
Well,
because
Die Another Day did not have Halle Berry in it.
Yes, it did.
No, I'll prove you. I'll prove it.
The comments are gonna be swarming until, like, even they already are, but I'm telling you, she's in Die Another Day. How can you forget this?
Well, I'm not
Seriously,
saying. I'm just saying that is. Hang on. I'm going to look this up.
Again, the commenter. I'm sure you guys are probably going to be. Probably a few of you are going to swarms of leave a few comments about that. Yes, Halle Berry is in Die Another Day. So. But The World Is Not Enough, because that was the second to last one, which, by the way, because, again, the original Q, that was, sadly, his last time being Q, and again, when it came to Die Another Day, that's when, John Cleese became the new Q. We got Halle Berry as the other Bond, girl of the Bond films, and where she would hook up with Bond, and, again, that Die Another Day being the fourth and last one, so...
The World Is Not Enough is the one I was thinking of. That is my least favorite.
Okay.
Bond. My favorite is Tomorrow Never Dies, followed by GoldenEye, followed by
Die
Another Day.
It's right there.
I'm looking right at it. Followed by The World Is Not Enough. Those were the last two. I thought The World Is Not Enough.
Halle Berry is in Die Another Day.
Yes. When you said that, I had to go back and look, because I thought, boom, it's got to be whatever one Halle Berry's in. I know I love, but there was another actress that was in it that I didn't really care for.
Okay. So The World's Not Enough is your least favorite?
No, The World Is Not Enough was a good movie.
Okay, but
had Halle Berry in it.
No, Die Another Day has Halle Berry.
Okay, so The World Is Not Enough is the one that I don't care for. It's good, but it's my least favorite. Okay.
Yeah, I seem to recall that The World Is Not Enough. It did turn out to be another pretty good Bond film with Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But just overall, because Die Another Day, that was the one that kind of didn't do that good. good. So
Right.
with Halle Berry.
Right.
But yeah, so just I'm interested to know what the comments have to say, because after what just happened and where you thought Halle Berry was not in Die Another Day, but she is. So
she is.
Good Lord. Okay, but overall, back to GoldenEye. Jeez Louise, because yeah, I mean, for me, because like again, as I was saying, to get back to what I was saying, it's hard for me to choose like which would be my absolute favorite of the Bond films with Pierce Brosnan. I mean, like I said, I think as though for me overall, I don't think it'd be like a competition. I just enjoy all four of them. But I just say probably maybe it's a tie, kind of the same thing for you, where I guess it's a tie between this and Tomorrow Never Dies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But yeah, just overall, GoldenEye, a great start at the time, a great start for a new era of James Bond where Pierce Brosnan would become the next Bond, the fifth Bond, and yeah, just what more do we have to say really? But okay, now how many stars we give it? We'll start with you.
I give it 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, boy. And as for me, you know, it's on my. I don't know because. What the heck? I don't care. Yeah, I'm giving this 10 out of 10 stars. Yeah. You think it sounds good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm just saying because I just feel it in me. So yeah. So again, 4.5 stars?
4.5 stars. 4.5 out of 5.
Okay. So he says that.
Yeah.
He says that. And for me, again, I don't care. 10 out of 10 stars. I really enjoy GoldenEye. So yeah. Okay. And what about you guys? What did you think of GoldenEye itself? Is it in your top favorite Bond films? Is it one of your favorite of the 4 James Bond films with Pierce Brosnan? Would GoldenEye by any chance happen to have been your first Bond film, or maybe if it was the first James Bond film you watched of Pierce Brosnan? Yeah, you get my point. Where do you rank it? Where do you rank GoldenEye and all of the other James Bond films? What are your favorite moments, your favorite characters with the villains, the whole thing of GoldenEye? And the first time you watched it, you were surprised with certain parts that happen in this movie, like obviously the twist and one of the villains to be revealed, and you obviously know. And if Pierce Brosnan is one of your favorite of the betrayals of 007 himself, overall, what do you think of GoldenEye itself, with what me and my dad had to say about it, our review, and yeah, what did you think of our review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, we thank you very much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed our review of the 17th installment of the James Bond films, and the first of the 4 James Bond films where Pierce Brosnan plays 007 himself, 1995's GoldenEye. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and we will see you guys in the next video / review. And any last words?
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Fitting. He says that for me. Again, thank you so much for watching. Happy anniversary to GoldenEye. Take care. And until, obviously, we will review Tomorrow Never Dies. Peace out. Shake, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred.
Bond. James Bond.